Let's take you back to our leading story. Residents of Jagersfontein have been warned to avoid contact with the water or with the flood water, which has covered the town in grey sludge. Let's discuss this environmental disaster. We're joined by David van Wyk from the Benchmarks Foundation. David, thank you so much for your time and for your patience while you waited for us to connect to you. What kind of environmental crisis does this actually pose, all in all? I don't think we know the magnitude of what this may mean.
Well, I think that if this disaster happened at night, many more people would have died. Fortunately, it happened around 6 o'clock in the morning. The Mary Spruit disaster that happened in the Free State some years before, similar to this one, killed 23 people as it flooded their community. The problem with this material from the mine is that it contains all kinds of chemicals, as well as, of course, silica and arsenic, as well as asbestos. And so as it dries out, the dust from this thing can be very problematic. But if you drink any water that's contaminated by it, you can get, of course, silicosis, or you can get arsenic poisoning. Arsenic is very, very poisonous. So it really is a problem for both human beings and animals. We know that it knocked out the electricity substation in the town. We don't know yet if it has impacted on the water supplies to the town, whether they be from boreholes or from a local dam or not. If it has, then you're going to have a very serious crisis in terms of access to water for that particular community. We are concerned that we warned government in 2007 with Policy Gap that the tailings management in South Africa leaves a lot to desire. We warned again in 2012 and again in 2018. We always have working class and poor communities on the wrong side of tailings because that's the worst land available and the cheapest land available. That's where the apartheid government put black and working class people. Soweto is on the wrong side of tailings. The townships around Welkom are on the wrong side of tailings, and here at Jagersfontein they're on the wrong side of tailings as well, both in terms of dust pollution as well as, of course, possible tailings breakage. The tailings is on an elevated space higher than the community, and so it runs downhill towards the community. And even if you do have an exclusion zone, that exclusion zone won't help if the tailings dam breaks. The slope of the tailings, therefore, was wrong, and the gradient of the wall of the tailings was too steep as well. And this is what led to the disaster.
But also, there's this question around who takes responsibility. Some people would say government in the form of the Department of Mineral Resources, and the fact that the licensing was awarded to a mine that apparently, according to community members, was not supposed to actually be operational. But there's also questions around the 2010, the company that bought the mine from De Beers in 2010. So who do we blame for this kind of tragedy?
Well, I think that first and foremost, we've noticed a pattern that large-scale mining companies sell to people who are not able to manage the mines that they buy from these large companies. The law should change. A large company should not be allowed to sell mines that are close to closure. They should be forced to stay with the mine until it's closed and then use the mine closure fund to close it properly. Very often when they sell the mines, they sell it minus the closure fund as a discount to whoever is buying the mine. And that mine has changed hands twice. It changed hands in 2010, and it changed hands again last year. And it's at the moment with a Dubai-based company, which is very far from South Africa, and one wonders about the management. The other thing about the law that should change is mining is a national competency, and so local and provincial government have very little say over the mines that fall within their jurisdiction, and therefore over the safety of those mines relative to communities. So the Department of Mineral Resources can issue a license that is very large, for example, in Johannesburg, all the way from Roodepoort to Benoni Springs, one license, and affecting millions of people with lots and lots of tailings in between, posing a similar potential disaster as this particular one, without communities or local government or provincial government having any say in the matter.
And, you know, just lastly, sir, in terms of the fact that you're saying that it's got asbestos and other type of toxicities around there, how urgent is it, rather, that the people who are still there are moved, and how much of a distance should be considered in terms of, if it happened at one specific area, how much of a distance should people be moved from their homes?
Well, I think that first and foremost, the logistics is going to be immense to keep people away from their homes. The second problem that we are having is that townships and housing should not be built close to mine facilities. There should be a 500 to 1,500 meter exclusion zone, and sometimes even more, depending on what is happening in that particular mine, blasting and things like that, that will crack houses, and also, of course, tailings failures that could drown people and so on. You know, but unfortunately, under apartheid, like I say, working class and poor communities were always located in the wrong places as far as these mines are concerned. And one would have expected that post-1994, this changes, that the apartheid spatial development is ended and that people are actually moved into safe locations. There are a couple of other places that I can mention where such disasters can take place. Ellen Ridge is one of them, for example, where the Nyakolong community, the houses are already flooding as we speak. I can take you there and show you the flooded houses in the streets closest to the retention pond of the mine wastewater, which is very poisonous and has already overtaken the water and sewage works in that particular township. Several places in Soweto as well, Meadowlands, Diepkloof and so on, are also located in the wrong places, as is Riverlee. You know, so people don't pay heed to the warnings that one gives. And one should note that insurance companies refuse to insure mine tailings because of the kind of class action that can follow when there is a disaster like this one.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, sir. This is quite a concerning issue, especially when you count all those areas that are around mines and shouldn't be there. That was David van Wyk from the Benchmarks Foundation speaking to us about the environmental hazard that the Jagersfontein incident has caused.